Good morning, afternoon, evening, gamers. So this is just a quick video. I I was watching some YouTube as I do, and I saw this advert being played, and obviously with what's going on, um, between particularly America and China, um, which is going to affect lots of other countries as well to a lesser or more degree. I wanted to make this video. It's funny, but also, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not particularly into politics, for reasons that I will, that we'll get into. So I'm not particularly political. I don't really do political stuff. I don't really care. As soon as I start listening to it, it gives me a kind of fatigue, um, because often or not you can see what's going on. It's not really that difficult, but we'll get into all of that. But I wanted to make this video because it's quite funny, also because I think that maybe if there was more honesty, maybe we'd get somewhere. I don't know, maybe we wouldn't, but let's watch it. So this is, let me pull it up. Oh, I've lost her. So so this is the honest government ad. So let us go full screen. Let's press play. And we'll watch it, and then I'll say a few things, and then I'll leave it up to you to decide for yourselves, because I'm very much into that. I don't want to tell you what you should or should not think.
Visit Canada, land of beauty and home to countless vanishing wonders. Affordable housing, the Greenbelt, the news, honest prices, honesty in general, and of course, trees that aren't on fucking fire. It's also home to an array of dangerous parasites. A message from the Government of Canada. Hello, you probably know us as the peaceful, polite, nature-loving country with the woke babe PM and the friendly horsey police. But actually, as Bay said,
Canada is a major oil and gas producing country.
And if you get between us and the oil and gas, we'll politely kick your fucking door in.
Breaking down the door.
Any questions? Good. Now please rise for our national anthem.
Just out for a rip, are you, bud? Just out for a rip.
As you know, we're experiencing the worst fires in our history. But rest assured, we're searching for the arsonists. And when we find them, we'll give them billions in subsidies. We know who they are. Some of us even work for them. What's that? You thought our job was to keep Canadians safe? Aw, sweetie. Our job's to keep them safe from Canadians. Our prime marketer doesn't even try to hide it. Like that time he declared a climate emergency and then approved an oil pipeline the very next day. Cool and normal. A message from the government of British Columbia. Visit BC, home to yep another pipeline. Introducing the Coastal GasLink. If completed, it'll carry fracked gas from the Montney Play to the coast so that a bunch of foreign companies can export it and make a lot of the ching-ching. Don't worry, BC will earn billions in revenue too, which once you subtract the billions of subsidies we gave those guys to build it, comes to approximately fuck all, eh? Is it safe? Of course not. Here's a destroyed wetland, cause going around it would have cost a bit more. Here's a salmon stream nuked by a landslide. And here's our regulator giving zero fucks cause it's been captured by the gas industry. Will it cause emissions? Put it this way, this is the tar sands, and this is the Montney Play, Canada's largest carbon bomb. Are we insane? Absolutely. That's why we've already approved 3 more pipelines here.
Yeah, I kind of knew a little bit about this. Also, this wasn't the advert that I saw. The advert I saw was more in relation to, problems with President Donald Trump wanting to, having this desire to make Canada, 51st state, which is something he actually said. But this is pretty good as well. And the thing is, yes, Canada are having these problems with their politicians saying one thing, doing something else. But we all know that a lot of other countries are doing the very same thing. You know, the government will say one thing, do something else. It's like, yeah, you know, it's sad.
Once Coastal GasLink is completed. The only thing standing in the way of this massive fuck you to every living thing on the planet is a sovereign First Nation that has the temerity to still exist, the Wet'suwet'en. They've told Coastal GasLink to piss off, because this is their Yinta, their land, which is completely and utterly, true, according to our own Supreme Court. But don't worry, Bay is committed to reconciliation. Unless it clashes with his holidays, of course. And nothing says reconciliation like raids, constant surveillance, harassment, and threats. Relax, it's not like we're waging a war on the Wet'suwet'en. We've outsourced that role to a message from the US Army. Did you know that before serving as CIA director and getting his ass fired for boning his biographer, this 4-star Army general wrote our field manual for how to wage war on local populations? We used it in Iraq and Afghanistan. So when this Wall Street firm, which owns Coastal GasLink, hired Dave to run their internal CIA, he said, hey, I'm a massive piece of shit. Let's use those same tactics against this peaceful sovereign nation defending its lands. Tactics like buying off band councils to get their consent. As Dave said, money is ammunition. Delegitimizing those who can't be bought off. Props to BC's court for helping with that. And most importantly, get local forces to do the fighting. To put a friendly face on a foreign campaign. And who better than Canada's friendly horsey police? Except now they look like this. Meet their commander, whose previous job was running similar ops in Afghanistan. Yep, under General Petraeus. And lastly, kicking in their door and dragging people off their lands. By the way, no conflict of interest with the Mounties Pension Fund having millions invested in this pipeline. Coastal GasLink. And that's how you make Canadians subsidize a pipeline through unceded Indigenous territory in the midst of a climate emergency, all for the profit of foreign corporations and a Wall Street warlord. Canada. Enjoy your visit, and remember, you too can support this shit fuckery by continuing to do business with these banks who are funding it. Whatever you do, don't support the Wet'suwet'en at yintaaccess.com and unastoten.cam. Visit Canada. P.S. We're also arming the Saudis. A message from the government of...
So that's that isn't the one I wanted. PG version. But it gives you an idea. And you know, let's be honest here. Like, I don't know how much of that is true. I don't know how much of it is, you know, maybe not a lie, but maybe misunderstood. Like, I don't know any of that. It feels like this is what money people would do. It does. Like, you know, we all know, you know, people with money have zero ethics and zero fucks. We know this, but that wasn't actually the one. That wasn't actually the one I wanted, which was a shame. Can I find the one I actually wanted? This one. I think it's this one that I wanted to.
Hello, I'm from the Canadian government. We know you're worried about President Trump's threat to grab Canada by the pussy and turn us into the 51st state of America, currently run by more...
Which, just to clarify, because I was watching somebody else react to this, an American who's, you know, trying to educate themselves a little bit on, you know, on politics and, like, you know, other countries, and, you know, does a very good job. You know, in just trying to learn things, which I think we all need to do, because we can't really trust media, and I wouldn't say trust this either. I think a lot of this is heavily satire, but also there's maybe a few messages in there. So I would say, always try to, look at both sides and sort of, do some research maybe, although even research can be difficult because media makes it very difficult to work out who's who. We have a lot of snake oilsmen, but we also have a lot of people that are, wolf in sheep's clothing. So yeah, it can be difficult at times to work out quite who's doing what. But yeah, did everybody forget that Donald Trump actually said that? Like, he actually said that, about grabbing women by the, I mean, to be fair, even I forgot he said that, but he did. I remember now him saying it, and he also wants. He's said, I watched a video a few days ago about him wanting to, get rid of the border and just have Canada as part of the US. So, both of those statements are things he has actually said that we know of, unless of course, him saying it, that, it's been, the audio's been doctored, maybe. I don't know. At this point, there are the people discrediting him that may be telling their own lies. That there are the people that, are defending him that are also telling lies. It's so much. It's just such a pile of crap. And through all of this, of course, Americans' lives, the general everyday worker, their lives don't seem to be getting any better. But, the people who have money, their lives getting better. They're making more money. But for the average everyday person, America, UK, other countries, they're not doing better. So we have all of this going on with politics, and it doesn't seem to be helpful because nothing's getting better. I mean, yeah, I guess some things do get a little better, but a lot more things seem to get worse. It's, and this is why I don't like politics. But then what else would you replace it with? What else would you do? Communism, that doesn't work. We've seen that doesn't work. This political system seems to be the best we have, but it still doesn't work because it relies on people being decent and looking out for others. And there are politicians in every country trying to do that, don't get me wrong. Like, there are. I'm absolutely sure of it. But you just know there are the ones that are just looking to line their own pockets, help their friends to, amass as much money, power as they can. Because this is the human condition. People desire power and money. How do you fix that flaw in human beings? You can't. No, I don't know there's any amount of money or governmental systems that you could put in place to stop that. I don't have the answer. All I'm saying is, look at what's going on, and it's not great. And with, the problems with China. And the thing is, I think Trump, like, I kind of see what he was trying to do. That China, there's a massive problem with IP fraud. Have you ever been to like one of those markets, and you walk by and you see like a clothing stall, and it's it's basically copies of brands, Lacoste, like maybe it's called Lacoste or something. It's been changed slightly, but you know what it is. You know what it is. It's basically a copy of, Lacoste or, these high fashion brands. And whatever it is that you think about that, whether you like it, don't like it, it is an infringement on, it is an infringement on a brand's, logo and identity, IP identity, and it is identity theft. And that has been happening with China for a long time. Also as well, and I don't know much about this, so I don't really want to go into it much. And to be fair, like I said, I'm not really into politics. I don't know a lot of this. I'm just showing this because, I'm concerned. I like playing Fallout 4. I don't want to live in Fallout 4, and I'm concerned that we're heading down that route. You never quite realize how fragile peace is, and how tenuous the ties between countries, even countries that are supposed to be friends, are until like something like Donald trying to get better deals for America, that's also the richest country in the world and in history, but doesn't look after its people as well as it could afford to. I don't know, but this isn't about America. I'm not picking on America. I'm not picking on Canada. I'm not picking on the UK. What I'm saying is, the only thing I want is for people to just live a decent life. But we don't. We kind of get there. It's like, 2 steps forward and then like 4 back. It's like, but the problem with Trump, having a go at China and China's having a go back, which will affect everybody else, is, it's you start to see all these grudges come up, between countries, and there are a lot of countries have these long held grudges against maybe another country or this country, and it's like it doesn't take much, for these to start bubbling to the surface, and then before you know it, people are wanting to go at each other. So it's concerning, is all I'm saying. But let's finish this.
Morons, billionaires, and fascists, or in this case, all 3 in one. But thankfully, we're about to have an election. And instead of our usual election, where you get to choose which flavor of disappointment you'd like for the next 4 years, this one will determine whether or not...
I do think that's true. I really do. Particularly in modern politics. Probably a lot of different countries around the world. It's not about picking, the best party. It seems to be more about picking just the least bad one. It seems to be, as a voter, you're playing piggy in the middle. And it's just like, okay, well, this one doesn't seem quite as bad as that one, but yeah, I suppose that's the one I go for. It's like, but I do feel that.
We become Russia's bitch's bitch. So who better to vote for at a time like this than the guy who's been endorsed by the guy who says we're not a real country, unlike his real hair and Path of Exile 2 ranking, as well as by Mr. Wonderful of shit, this sad sack of meat and benzodiazepine, and by the founder of an extremist group that wants to violently impose a white ethno-state. But remember, he's not a MAGA guy, so it's just a coincidence that Pierre hired a literal MAGA hat-wearing Loblaw shill as chief advisor, double president's choice, and that 1 in 5 of his voters support annexation, Canada 51st, and that his policies are designed to turn Canada into America Light, like destroying the CBC, repealing environmental protection, and delivering for his private healthcare donors so you can pay for your own chemo and collect PC Optimum points. So if you don't want to become the 51st state of America, vote for us. Sure, in a way, we've already let the US invade Canada. Like that time we let this former US Army general and head of the CIA literally invade indigenous lands to build pipelines owned by Wall Wall Street firms who'll be the ones profiting from your higher energy bills. But other than that, we're not like the conservatives at all, where Pierre promised to axe the carbon tax and give the rich a wristy by killing the capital gains hike. Our guy went and did it on day one. What's that? You're thinking of voting for these guys? Nah, we both know you'll succumb to Canada's proudest tradition, strategic voting. Unless, of course, you realize that you can avoid being forced to vote for shit or shit light every election by replacing our shitty voting system with proportional representation. Hang on, didn't this guy promise electoral reform? Sure, but he only had 10 years to do it, and it's not like his slogan was real change now. Something 2/3 of Canadians want. Proportional representation lets you tell both major parties to fuck off by letting you vote for the candidates you like most instead of the one you hate least. You know, ones who stand for the things you want, besides not becoming North Dakota, like affordable housing, ending price gouging monopolies, improving healthcare, transit, and education, climate policies that aren't total bullshit, and most importantly, revoking Elon's Canadian citizenship, because fuck that guy. So if you want choices that go beyond US vassal state bro or banker daddy status quo, head to fairvote.ca and join the fight to demand that all parties commit to real electoral reform. But first, let's make sure we tell Trump and Elmo to fuck off this election, which might even teach our friends in America how you cross-check MAGA shitlords into the boards. Elbows up! This has been a message from the government of Not America, proudly burning down the White House when threatened since 1812. Authorized by the Department for a Definitely Real Country, unless you ask First Nation peoples, in which case maybe not.
Okay, so yeah, and I really hope somebody tells Donald that it's not a real government ad. It's satire. It's a joke, because honestly, Donald at times seems a little unhinged. I think he's one of those people. He thinks before he does something sometimes, and I mean that there's a lot of people like that, but usually that they're not in charge of, like, you know, nuclear weapons and, you know, a lot of power to just create a lot of destruction, you know. But yeah, I hope somebody just lets him know this. Yeah, it's satire, Donald. It's satire. And again, I'm not going to get into all the, you know, whether you dislike this person or you like this person. Like, I don't know. Again, it seems to be that politics is turning into like a popularity contest, and it's like nothing that people say matters. Nothing. They can promise you the world. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what you do, not what you say. Actions speak louder than words. They always have, and they always will. You know, if you say you're gonna do one thing and then you do another, that shows who you really are. You know, and again, I'm not really into politics because it's just too much of a, you know, believe me, no believe me. Yeah, I'm telling the truth. I'm not. You know, I'm telling the truth. I'm not. You know, you're in this camp or you're in this camp, when usually it's, you know, okay, these guys over here, some of their ideas are pretty good. These guys over here, some of their stuff is pretty good, which is how I tend to try and look at things. Like, I try and be somewhere in the middle if I can. And again, I don't understand a lot of it. I really don't, because just it starts to give me a headache. Like, you know, and you never know who's telling the truth. You know, every single prime minister, every single member of parliament, I would have to sit down and like go through their history, and, you know, work out, you know, what ties they've got to what, and, you know, and even some of that could be doctored or not true, because, you know, let's face it, you know, people try and discredit other people because, you know, they gain something out of it. That person might be a bad person, but they haven't done the things that this person said. It's like, I know, it's too much of a headache. But when it comes to general people around the world, don't care which country it is, because again, I think of myself more as a human being first, and wherever I live, kind of second. Like, I'm a human being, and you're a human being, and I just I want people to be doing okay. I don't think profit is a bad idea, but at what point is it maybe too much? Like, how much is enough? At some point, is it too much? Is it unreasonable? Where's the line in the sand? Is there a line in the sand? I don't know. But again, human nature, greed and power seems to be the thing that does us in as humans the most. But that's just my take, and hey, love to hear your views, and obviously everybody loves their country, and that's fine, but also thinking about the bigger picture of, it doesn't matter how much you love your country, if your country's being destroyed and you're destroying another country, and I don't see that really being a win-win. I don't, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. But I thought this was generally kind of funny. I wish maybe, government ads were a little more honest. Like, maybe it would be better. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't. But yeah, that was just a quick video. I don't do a lot of these. If this isn't something you like, don't worry, I'm not going to do much of this. But obviously I have been worried, with things going on. The timing is pretty bad as well. You've got, high inflation in a lot of countries. You've still got Russia and Ukraine at each other's throats. I would say we're probably still coming out of the pandemic. Like, that's the other thing that makes me laugh, is people think that, the pandemic and COVID, whether you believe it was real or not, like, obviously some people believe it wasn't real. I don't know. But, a virus doesn't just disappear. Like, I think it's still out there. It's still being fought. So there's all of that going on. Obviously, all the problems that caused by the pandemic, the world is still dealing with that. It's, it's had a ripple-on effect, and this isn't going to make that situation better, I don't think. That's more what I'm thinking, and that it's, it's going to make things a lot worse for people. And it's not, again, it's not going to be the rich people, because they can afford to take a hit, and then they'll just find a way to get it out of people later. Like, they can afford it. It's going to be the everyday people that are the most affected, and the poorer people that are going to be the most affected, because that's how it always is. Same in wars. You got this country fighting this country, and like, they're fighting, and then you got all the people in the middle who were just trying to get by anyway. They were just trying to get by, just trying to live their life, and it's like, yeah, now we've got this. So, yeah, that's just how I think. So I wanted to make this, and it's quite funny, so long as it's seen as, satire and funny. So until the next one, I'm not going to do anything else or make any other videos. This isn't really my thing. Video games are more my thing. Sometimes music, although music is problematic because you can't show how wonderful a music group is, because they don't want you to, or their record label doesn't want you to, because publicity. Who wants that, I guess? Although I guess it comes down to the money thing as well, which I don't have to worry about, but I'll still get copyrighted, so I don't tend to do music as much. But yeah, video games and just, you know, just trying to, you know, enjoy things, because that seems to me what life is about. Until the next one, bye for now.